what are we expecting? What's the timeline, and where should we kind of set our hopes right now for the next piece of the vaccine story?
Sure. Thanks, Oliver, for having me. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
So firstly, just to kind of set the scene. So Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is an adenovirus vaccine, not an mRNA vaccine. So there's been obviously a lot of talk and hype about mRNA vaccines from companies like Pfizer, BioNTech. What this basically means is that it injects a virus that expresses the spike protein. So all the vaccines that we've talked about, DNA vaccines, which, include a company like Inovio, mRNA vaccines, which include obviously the talked about Moderna, Pfizer, BioNTech, also Arcturus Therapeutics, which is a company in our ARKG fund. They're all focusing on mRNA. And then, of course, we have these adenovirus vaccines that imitate the virus, obviously COVID-19, in order to make our body to create antibodies to combat the virus, and so that it will remember it for next time. So here's what we know so far, and here are my expectations. So we know that Dr. Anthony Fauci has said that we have sufficient data to potentially assess trial efficacy. We know that J&J has said that we'll likely see data by the end of January, which we're coming close to. We also know that they have their earnings call tomorrow, which seems like it might come out then. We also know that the FDA has a 50% threshold for the efficacy of the vaccine. So we hope that it's at least higher than that. And we know that Pfizer, BioNTech have reported about a 52% efficacy with just one dose. So obviously hoping for that. And my personal expectation, I'm hoping for something around 80 to 95% efficacy for the vaccine. I think having a one shot will be really beneficial for manufacturing and scalability.
So the possibility of one shot, even if it's at a slightly lower efficacy rate, but close, then we should expect it to be a major player in the vaccine rollout. I'm curious what degree that is going to be. Are we going to see J&J vaccines as much as we see the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines? How do we know, and as an investment perspective for their bottom line, how do we sort of model who's going to be getting what vaccines out? Does it depend on how powerful and successful this one is?
Yeah, Oliver, that's a good point. I do think that, if they get a comparable efficacy rate, I think they could really capture a lot of market share, because obviously having that one dose has a lot of benefit. However, if they get a little bit lower, I think that would be okay. I think if we go below sort of the 70-ish%, I think that would be a bit more challenging, but I think it would just shift the strategy. So maybe we give, the Johnson & Johnson or the AstraZenecas of the world that maybe have a little lower efficacy. If that happens with Johnson & Johnson, maybe we give those to people who are otherwise healthy, no comorbidities, younger, and maybe we use Pfizer and Moderna for the elderly population. So I think something like that may play out, but we'll have to see. I do think that some of the benefits, though, of Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca, the adenovirus vaccines, one is that public opinion, right? Because the flu vaccine is an adenovirus vaccine, which means that we have data on it. We understand that vaccine. So with a lot of vaccine hesitancy going on, maybe people will be more inclined to take it because of that. I also think, for Johnson & Johnson and Arcturus Therapeutics, as I mentioned, an ARKG holding, they might get some increased market share just because it's one dose. And for the developing world, that may help with manufacturing scalability, logistical changes, because of the, cold temperatures needed for some of these mRNA vaccines.
So in terms of what this means for the company, that's where I'm curious in what you guys are doing in terms of the inclusion within the genomics fund. I mean, is J&J already a major role in any kind of diversified, targeted genomic strategy, or do we need to see the results first?
Good question. So, we do not hold Johnson & Johnson in our ARKG fund. We do like a lot of these sort of larger pharmaceutical companies. One, some of them can be like cash-like stock. And the other reason is a lot of them are very, very innovative and forward-thinking. So an example I would use to highlight there would be Novartis. They were among the first for their CAR T therapy, which is a revolutionized immunotherapy for cancer. They were also among the first as a gene therapy for spinal muscular atrophy in children for Zolgensma. So their ability to commercialize and create innovative medicines is surely there.